I'm your host, Scary Pops, and everyone loves a good scare. Let's get into it. Cry, baby. Late last night, I woke up to the sound of someone crying. It was an eerie sound and surprisingly loud as well. Although I wanted to get up and go check it out, I was a bit scared and tired, so I ignored it by hiding underneath the covers. That morning at breakfast, I told my roommate about it, and she was like, "That was me," she replied with a tone of fear in her voice. And I felt relieved at first, but then she said, "I was crying because I saw something watching you while you were asleep." My move to LA. This is a story about a 27-year-old woman from Australia who was in a domestic abuse relationship, and she wanted to get out of it, so she packed her 2 bags and she was going to take a flight to Los Angeles. She was a fitness trainer and she wanted to look for a new fresh start in LA. So she did get an apartment, and she got hired at a gym not too far from her apartment. She worked 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. and had to work a little bit later because her coworker was going to be late, but she had no problem with that. So her shift was over and she started her walk home towards her apartment. And as she was walking, she came across this man who was near the bus stop. And he was looking at her and she had an uneasy feeling. So she decided to walk a little bit faster, and she made sure that she wouldn't look back to make any eye contact. But as she did continue to walk, she could hear footsteps behind her as the man was following her. So she was feeling really uneasy, and she started to look back to see where he might be. And then she took out her keys and clutched them in her hands and continued to walk. Just then, he was running towards her. She could hear the footsteps behind her. She knew that he was in pursuit. She then decided to look back, and he was right there. And he grabbed her. And all she could think of at the time was to take her keys and hit him in the head with it. Just then, a car was coming with its high beams on, and his horn was honking. And so the man started to run away with the car approaching. And a gentleman gets out of the car. "Are you okay?" And she's shaking and just glad that he's there. And he was telling her that he was coming from the gym and he recognized her and saw that she was in some kind of trouble. "So here's my gym membership, show you that I'm okay. Let's get you back. Let's get you in the car and let's get you home." He then proceeded to tell her that he had seen another man in a car close by, and that obviously things were not going to go well for her tonight was the intentions. When you're out and about, always make sure you're aware of your surroundings. The road trip. My best friend and I decided to go on a road trip. We were going to go out to California. Just us 2 girls, and so we're driving along the highway. We're just having a road trip, hanging out, listening to some music. We decide to pull into a gas station. It's about 9 o'clock at night to grab some snacks. And as we pull up, we see that there's 2 girls filling up their gas. And it looks like they're about our age and possibly maybe on a road trip as well. But one of the things I noticed when I got out, that there was a strange man in a truck staring at them. He was just staring at them as they were filling up their gas, and they didn't notice this. But he continued to just stare at the girls, which gave me a creepy feeling. And I continued to look in his direction, and he got into the truck. I went into the Quick Mart to grab some snacks for the road trip, and then as I came out, I noticed that the girls were starting to leave. And then I looked over, and I could see that this guy, who was like in his 30s or 40s, was checking them out, and he went and got into his truck and he took off. So I had a really uneasy feeling and my stomach was turning over. I started to feel a sense of unease, and So I decided to get in my car and drive down the road to go find them and follow them. I saw the truck behind them with his high beams on and flashing his lights. He then sped up around the side and he started to shout something in their direction. And I was like, oh no, what are these girls doing? They're starting to pull over. No, 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 no. What are you doing? The guy in the truck, then he sped off. And it looks like he can see that I was behind him in his rearview mirror. So he must have panicked and he took off. So I pulled up behind the girls. And then we got out and we started to ask them if they were okay. They said that he was yelling that he was a deputy and that if they didn't pull over that they were going to go to jail. So that's when they decided to pull over. So we told them, well, if we had not been following, who knows what would have happened that night. I mean, if this guy had gotten out and no one was around, how scary that could have been of that situation, and they could have been in a world of hurt. We told them that I noticed the guy was really creepy back at the gas station and that he was just staring at you guys, and so I felt really uneasy, and so that's why I decided to get in the car and follow, and I am so glad that I did. They were happy that we followed and they gave us some grateful hugs, and then we continued along our way, and we told them that when they get a chance to call the cops and let them know what happened and report the truck. Remember, if your gut is telling you something, always go with your gut. Stories during the storm. Mommy's home. A father is laying in bed after just waking up. He grabs the baby monitor and walks to his desk in his office at home. And he has his baby on the baby monitor, hearing his wife singing to her. He cracks a smile as he hears his wife say, "Go to sleep, go to sleep." Then all of a sudden the front door opens up and his wife comes in. "Honey, I'm home from the store." All I see is red. I checked into a small hotel, and it's pretty late, and I'm tired, and I tell the woman at the desk that I want a room. She tells me the room number and gives me the key. But just want to tell you one more thing. There was one room without a number that's always locked. Don't even peek in there. So I take the key and go to the room to sleep. And then as the night becomes later, I start hearing trickling of water. It comes from the room across. And I can't really sleep, so I open the door and I listen, and it's coming from the room with no number. So I pound on the door, but no response. I look in the keyhole and I see nothing but red. And the water is still trickling. So I go down to the front desk to complain. And I'm like, okay, who is in that room? I hear water trickling. She looks at me and she says, there was a woman in there and she's murdered by her husband. Her skin is all white except her eyes, which were red.